when you are thinking of excavation of a place like Masada, this is a dream excavation. Why a dream? Because actually the archaeologists had a manual, and it was called Josephus Flavius, the Jewish War. Josephus Flavius described everything. So imagine you are an archaeologist, you don't have to break your head and try to guess. Northern Palace, check mark, we found it. Bath, Roman bath. We found 4 Roman baths in Masada. Just to give you an idea, some towns did not have even one. Here, on a mountain on the top of the desert, where there is no water, 4 Roman baths. Just to tell you about King Herod. That means, why would I go to the only one and walk in the shade, in the sun? I'll have another one there, and another one there. 4 Roman baths. Of course, you are going to ask me, where did the water come from? We'll do that later. So we have Roman bath. Northern Palace, check mark. Western Palace, we found it. The walls and everything is found. There's one building that Josephus mentioned that was never found. And it was the stables, where Herod had horses. Remember, you have traveled by horse. Never found it. On the other side, archaeologists never found a stable, but they found a building that Josephus Flavius never mentioned. And this is this building. So what could be the conclusion? This is the stables that were turned into a synagogue. Makes sense? The Jews here did not have horses and were besieged. They did not need a stable, and they turned this building into a synagogue. How do we know the Jews, rebels and their families use it as a synagogue? First, because most of the construction you are looking at is not from the time of Herod, is later. If you remove the plaster on the benches here, you will find pieces of columns, capitals, all kinds of things that belong to another building. So they just took something that was in ruin and they make just benches. Herod would have done something much better if he wanted to build a synagogue. He never built a synagogue. Remember, Herod was Jewish with the Jews and was pagan with the Gentiles. He never needed here in private place a synagogue. So the Jews built a synagogue here. You would say, of course, I want to tell you that back in the 60s, shut up. You want water? Boom. Okay, so you would say, of course the Jews have built synagogue. In the 1960s, when excavation took place and they found this building, the oldest synagogue that was known in Israel was a synagogue in Capernaum. And what is the date of the synagogue of Capernaum? Remember? What, I'm talking in the air? Late Roman period, remember that? 4th century AD.
Byzantine.
Just before the Byzantine period. It's 4th century, that means 300 something, and it lasted through the Byzantine period. While here, Masada was destroyed in 73 AD. That means any synagogue found here was built before 73. That means 1st century. For the first time, we found a synagogue that was from the time of the temple. It was commonly understood that when the temple was in activity, Jews did not need synagogue. You will tell me, you just have to read the New Testament and see that. There's many synagogues. Jesus, there's a temple, and still Jesus is teaching in synagogue. I will tell you that the archaeologists, they say, yes, it's good to have the text, but we prefer to have firm evidence. So we knew there were synagogues, but we have never found at that time. So Masada was already something amazing, finding a synagogue here. And how did they know it was a synagogue beside the public building built by the Jews? There was also a small room. Inside there was a hall that was man-made, and inside found a few pieces of scrolls. The only one that was readable was the scroll mentioning from the book of Ezekiel. You know Ezekiel? So, and not any part of the book of Ezekiel, but the dry bones. What a coincidence. Dry bones here in Masada, of course. Of course, you know, remember, Ezekiel is talking of the end, of the death of the people of Israel, that is just dry bones. Only if they don't follow the commandments of God. But if they do, what will happen? Bones will come together, then the nerves and the muscle and the flesh will grow on them, and the Spirit of the Lord will enter and they will stand up. He will take you out of your graves, and you'll know I'm your people. That's, what I say is just nothing. Read the text. You get the chills when you read that description. That's amazing. And that's a promise of redemption. Yes, there's this. Yes, they are dry bones. But if they keep my faith, the faith in me and in their God, then I will bring them back to their own house. They will return back to their lands. These are these prophecies. And imagine the archaeologists here in the 60s. Just a couple of years, It is 12, 15 years after the independence. And they're excavating here and they find a scroll from the Bible that mentioned that one day the Jews will return to their land, and here they are. It was from reading the book of Yigal Yadin, it was a very moving moment. The finding of this scroll, this piece of scroll. Now inside there's a scribe, now he's making scrolls again. Usually some people want to have a scribe writing their name, or actually the scribe, they do the mezuzahs, they do the phylacteries, the tefillin, and they do, of course, from time to time, a Sefer Torah, a whole book of the Torah. So that's called a sofer, a scribe. Now that's what I wanted to tell you in the synagogue. People were so happy, and of course, all the synagogue in the world. A few years later, we started to excavate more, and we started to find all the synagogue. And of course, from the time of Jesus, and even before, we found synagogue even in Babylon. That means the Jews had synagogues even all the time. That means even when they were the temple. Which means the synagogue was not just something for praying. It was also the community center, where you gather, when you take decisions, and so on. So it looks like the synagogue will be used here one last time, at the night before the Romans give the final attack. When the rebels gather and take the decision that they are going to prefer to die and not surrender. Let's go somewhere in the shade, tell you the story, there will be some teaching. Okay? Let's go.